Okay, so today on RSVP, we're going to get into all the details of Jay-Z being added to Diddy's legal woes. Jay-Z has already responded, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into Draya Michele. You know, the Instagram model has moved on. The Mint Swim owner, the former video vixen, has moved on to Houston Rockets star Jalen Green. Her ex, Tyrod Taylor, they're embroiled in a little legal drama over a former residence. We're going to talk about that. And Marcus Jordan, he seems to have an affinity for the Cougars, y'all. We're going to get into who Marcus was spotted with in Miami over the weekend. And it is definitely someone you are familiar with. So, first up, let's get all into this situation with Jay-Z. So, over the weekend, there was a filing that was made in amongst all of this Diddy drama from October of this year that alleged that a 13-year-old attended the attended an after party for the 2000 VMAs solo. She just went out, was trying to get into the VMAs, met a limo driver who actually allegedly worked for Diddy and said, "Hey, I can't get you into the VMAs. What's up, forensic accountant? Thank you for tapping in. Happy to see you." Um, so basically, the story is that she met this limo driver. They went to this after party that Diddy was having, and she alleged that she was assaulted. Someone gave her a drink. The drink was not specifically, as the petition reads, specifically for her per se. So don't know if she is implying in this filing that, you know, the whole environment was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or if her specifically, but she alleged that she went into a bedroom to lay down, and Diddy and celebrities B and C assaulted her. Celebrity C was allegedly a female celebrity, and A and B alleged to have taken turns. Well, in the refiled motion, it has been revealed that that individual is allegedly Jay-Z. But Jay-Z was already aware of this because Tony Buzbee had reached out to him. If you aren't familiar with Tony Buzbee, I've talked about this before. He is a lawyer. He's based in, I believe it is Texas. He was heavily involved in lawsuits against former NFL Texans star Deshaun Watson, where it was like a bunch of masseuses claimed that Deshaun was inappropriate with them during these situations. Tony Buzbee has been sued before for what has been deemed inappropriate measures in these so-called lawsuits. He has been referred to by some as an ambulance chaser. So the jury's still out on whether that is true or not, but he is an irritant. He's the one that started the 800 line for Diddy, etc., for these cases. So he had reached out to Jay-Z's people a few months ago, his attorney, Alex Shapiro, and basically was like, "Hey, we have this individual. They say that you're involved," and requested a mediation, which Tony Buzbee was very clear that they didn't ask for money. So how could they be trying to extort him? They asked for a mediation. But let's be real. What are you mediating about? The money, a settlement, because most people don't want to go to trial. So the petition was amended from October. It's nothing new, but Jay-Z responded to the lawsuit. It was posted to the Rock Nation's Instagram account. It was soon taken down after. I really believe that this wasn't a publicist statement or anything like that because Jay, so it seems, was very much behind these words. And, there wasn't a spell check going on with it or anything like that. Forensic accountant says, an unaccompanied adolescent has no business being anywhere with adults. Not that it justifies possible victimization. I agree with you 100% with that. How does it happen? So I can say I have been obviously this took place in New York, but I have been around Hollywood. I grew up in the entertainment industry for a long time. So I know people, I know different situations where young girls or guys were out and about at different things, whether their parents worked at the industry or sometimes they convinced their parents to drop them off at certain things. I mean, if I'm being honest, back in the day, some people that I know of that will remain nameless used to go and find out where like New Edition was staying and hang out in front of the hotel. Did their parents know? Maybe, maybe not. But this was at night. The after party is at least late in the evening. The VMAs were a live show taking place starting at about 8 o'clock. So an after party would have to be after 10 or 11. So to me, that says that the environment was very, very loose. That's neither here nor there, because obviously that does not say that an individual should be allowed to be taken advantage of in any capacity because they were there. But if there is a blurred line of consensuality, you know, the individual indicated that at the time they had to sign an NDA, which would be something that wasn't able to enforce because one, they were underage, and you know, a parent would have to sign for them, and two, you can't enforce an NDA in place of a crime. So once again, but regardless of all that, Jay-Z's statement basically said, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Buzbee. What he had calculated was that the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away, excuse me. Would you not agree? I would agree. These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This lawyer, who I've done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these type of theatrics. I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Buzbee, but I promise you I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more than prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You are neither honor nor dignity. My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand in inexplicable degrees, it is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit. Forensic accountant is shouting out BBD lyrics. Backstage, underage, adolescent. Those are regrettable lyrics. BBD has said time and time again they did not write those lyrics. Busta Rhymes did. He's never explained, but again, I can explain during that time period. Listen, people say it was a different time back then, and it was. And that's not an excuse, but it just means that how things were moved very, very differently. At any rate, Jay-Z is in absolute denial of this. He has the means and the resources to go after this. This, as I mentioned, this is not Tony Buzbee's first time with being accused of having shady business practices and being an ambulance chaser, so to speak. So we will have to see what comes of that. Now, here's the other thing, right? The female that they are alleging in this suit that was also in the room. Remember, this is 2000. This is pre Jay and Beyonce for all of you people that are trying to find a way to stick Beyonce in this particular incident. Probably would not have been her, as she and Jay-Z weren't involved at that time. There are many names that are floating in the air about who the female celebrity could be. At that time, what I can say is that Diddy was dating a former In Living Color dancer, but we don't know if that is who they are alleging was in the room. Right now, it seems like a lot of shakedown tactics, because here is my question with something like this. What will you bring forth as proof? I am of the agreement of the I am of the thought process as well as a 13-year-old child and something happened like this. She claims that when she finally got out of there, she called her father to come and pick her up. No explanation as to if they did attempt to try and file criminal charges at that time, report it to anyone, or do anything of that nature. But to me, someone attacks your 13-year-old daughter and you know about it, they were out, I would investigate further. And so far, I'm not saying it hasn't happened. So far, there's no evidence that any type of criminal complaint was filed after this alleged incident in 2000. Jay-Z has also just recently filed a motion to have the identity of this 13-year-old individual released. Now, some people are saying that this is bullying behavior, that he is victim shaming and trying to put it out there. Tony Buzbee has implied that Jay-Z has been investigating not only him, but his clients and some family and friends, which maybe it's a criminal proceeding. They are accusing him of very, very heinous things. So if you're accusing someone, don't you research it? Again, I don't know. We'll have to see how all of this plays out. But they have filed a motion that the identity of the 13 at the time alleged accusers' identity be released. Now, if you recall, something of this nature happened similarly with another Diddy. I know it's hard to keep up with all of the various Diddy lawsuits that have been put out there. Let me put a pin in that. What Tony Buzbee said in responding to Jay-Z's statement about the lawsuit is, regarding the Jay-Z case and his efforts to silence my clients, Mr. Carter previously denied being the one who sued me and my firm. He filed his frivolous case under a pseudonym. What he fails to say in his recent statement is my firm sent his lawyer a demand letter on behalf of an alleged victim, and the victim never demanded a penny from him, which is what I brought up. If you are asking for a mediation thing, you obviously are asking ultimately for the end result to be money. I mean, what else are we talking about here? A lollipop? An apology? A kind word? No, you're talking about money. So that's being a little tricky with the words, but we'll go with it. He said, since I sent the letter on her behalf, Mr. Carter has not only sued me, but has tried to bully and harass me and this plaintiff. His conduct had the opposite effect. She is emboldened. I'm very proud of her resolve. So here's the thing. If she is emboldened, if she feels empowered because she is standing up and sticking up for her rights. And if you guys have any comments, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this and what is going on. But I feel like putting a face to it and saying, yeah, you did this to me, and I'm not afraid to stand here and say it, is a powerful statement. It also is inspirational for other victims, and it gives credibility to you. Because let's be real, we are talking about something that happened almost 25 years ago. What type of physical proof are you going to bring forth? There'll be statements on both sides, but who's telling the truth? Is it an outcry thing? Did she go home and tell someone? How can we be sure that that actually happened? I mean, that is the tricky line, because the burden of proof in a civil trial is different from what is brought forth in a criminal complaint. And again, I really would like to know if there was even an attempt to place a criminal complaint when this incident, allegedly happened. Again, understand the fear and things of that nature. But at that time, Diddy was Puff, and he wasn't the individual that he is now with all of this power. Neither was Jay-Z. Now, were they considered violent rappers? Possibly, but weren't all rappers from the outside kind of considered as such? I don't know. We will have to see what is going to develop. As far as the court documents that Jay-Z filed today, his lawyer, Alex Spiro argued, fair is fair. It's not right, just, or in line with federal rules for a plaintiff and her legal team to tarnish Jay-Z's good name in secret. The filing also emphasizes Jay-Z's impeccable reputation. Let me slow down. Noting he's never faced any accusations of sexual misconduct, although there were accusations of violence. We know the stabbing with Lance and things of that nature, but no sexual misconduct things on record. Although, the fans, people, they are always questioning or bringing up or implying what his relationship was with Foxy. Was he grooming Foxy? was this behavior that he continued to do and demonstrate. I look forward to these things being brought out in court, because if there is truth to them, obviously we need to know. And it's just a really, really tricky situation, because believe victims, absolutely. Women are always doubted in these situations. They're always questioned. However, having been in these environments for a very, very, very long time, I have to say that sometimes people play games and they slide around, and what they are with in a certain moment, 5 years later, they might have regrets when things didn't turn out exactly as they planned. Obviously, you can't take that stance when you're speaking about a 13-year-old child who was just, in theory, excited, trying to get to the party to see some of their favorite celebrities. But my question is, no one, absolutely no one, questioned who this young 13-year-old girl who just showed up with no ticket. I'm sure that means she wasn't dressed for the occasion. And in 2000, people were putting it on, right? When you went to the VMAs, you weren't going casual. We weren't in that environment. So I just have a lot of questions as it relates to this. But the stage is set. And also, as this particular case moves forward, what type of domino effect or boomerang will it have on the other cases involving Diddy and this particular lawyer? As I said, he had an 800 number out there. He represents several people, all of which have been filed under secret. So we'll be watching out to see what develops. It's being played out in the press, and it feels like, I'm sorry, I know people have their feelings and thoughts about Jay-Z and his business practices, him cheating on Beyonce, all of that. But it feels like this is a shakedown. All right, so let's move on to something else. I don't know if you've seen all the conversation about NFL quarterback Tyrod Taylor. He used to date Draya Michele. You know, Draya is popular. She started Mint Swim. She was on Basketball Wives. She's dated her fair share of NBA, NFL, and, you know, maybe a singer or rapper or two. She's social, right? She's recently had a little girl with Jalen Green. Draya is several years older than Jalen. Her son and Jalen are actually in similar ages. Before she was with Jalen, she was with Orlando Scandrick. They have a son together. She dated Tyrod Taylor when he played for the San Diego Chargers, and they lived in a house out here in LA in the Valley section. Well, Tyrod and Draya obviously broke up. Draya claims that she and Tyrod had a verbal agreement that she would pay for renovations and purchase the home for him. Tyrod said, "That's not true. I want you out of my house." Now, here's the thing. People are like, well, why can't her new man buy her a house? And why isn't her new man doing anything? Well, if you're familiar with child support laws, obviously Texas has a lower barrier as far as what you can get when you are established as far as your residential, your living home state or whatever. California, although it's changing, is much more generous, shall we say, to women. But there's something else. Draya does have this son with Orlando. I'm not sure if they have joint custody. I'm not sure what their custody setup is, but Orlando lives here. He has two older twin daughters. He has a new younger daughter that he had with WNBA player De'Erica Hamby. That's another conversation. One day I'm going to connect the dots through sports and Hollywood, because there's a lot of loose family connections, step siblings, connects, cousins. It's going to be a mess in a couple of years, but that's aside. So when people ask why Draya is trying to hold on to this house, Draya's son, who is in school here, whose father lives here, apparently lives in the house with the nanny, who is one of Draya's good friends and has been around for quite some time and has helped with baby boy. And Draya is in Texas with baby girl and her new man. Now, some are saying too, maybe his mom is smarter, or his parents, his family is smarter than you think. And it's like, hey, you did what you did. We can't do anything about it, but baby, we're going to rein in the coins. She doesn't get anything extra. She gets what she's here with you with and for the baby. Perhaps that's what's going on. Forensic accountant says, you're going to have me sleuthing today. Hey, forensic accountant, sleuth and get back to us, because once again, we're going back to the Jay-Z Diddy thing. There are a lot of unanswered questions as far as a lot of these cases. I really want to know how they plan to meet the burden of proof, the threshold of proof. Cassie was a different situation. Obviously, that video came out. Cassie was with him for a very long time. She has access to different things. But these encounters that allegedly happened 25, 30 years ago, is there any physical evidence to prove as such? If you take a picture of those injuries, how do we know that happened on this day and not 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks before? It's just really, really complicated. And I want justice for victims. I'm not saying that at all. I just question how we can get to the truth with very little physical evidence, which is something that is so important and so heavily lined into all of these things. Lisa, says Lisa? Yeah, Lisa King says, I'm sure they have videos. Perhaps videos of what types of things? People say, yeah, there's all these videos. Videos of this incident of a 13-year-old at a VMA party 25 years ago? I don't know. There was also another revelation that came forward that I mentioned with the Diddy trial. There's a woman who said that when she was 17, she was in Detroit. She met, I think it was Harv Pierre. She got on a private jet, flew to New York, was at Daddy's House studio. And she said that she was assaulted by Harv, Diddy, and another unnamed individual. Well, Diddy also sued for her identity to be revealed. One of the reasons why she claimed in her suit initially, that she didn't want to reveal herself is that she was somewhat of a public figure. Well, she absolutely is somewhat of a public figure, but not the kind that you guys think. She is the ex-wife of NHL star. His name is Evan. Let me get it correct. I don't want to jack it up. His name Evan Handler, I believe. And so they've recently been in the press. Well, not recently, a couple of years ago, because he has full custody of their children. They had a nasty breakup. He accused her of some things. They've sorted through all that. She said that, she was dealing with some emotional things at the time. Now, who knows? Could her emotional issues have stemmed from the incident that happened 20 plus years ago that she is now suing for? It's possible. We do know that these things have that effect. But again, outside of pictures being in the studio, shout out to you, forensic accountant. I appreciate you locking in and getting me some MTEL. So I have a question really as to the burden of proof and how it's going to be presented in quite a few of these cases. With Cassie, again, more recent, she was his girlfriend. There are other things, but we're going to see how it all plays out. And everyone is locked and loaded. All right. So enough about that. Oh, Meek Mill did come out in defense of Jay. He said, the goal is to start false narratives, to create a matrix web. If you can control the storyline, you can control the matrix. American media is totally unbelievable. I see Jay-Z blank a 13-year-old girl 300 times scrolling. It's called programming. So we'll have to see. Anna Kane is the name of the individual, and Evander Kane is the name of her husband. So she is the one who said in 2003 she was assaulted by Harv and Diddy in New York at the Daddy's House studio. So much happening, so many details. It keeps rolling in. It keeps rolling in. We're going to wrap up with 2 more stories. One of them is, I don't know if this is a cry for help, if this is daddy issues, mommy issues. I'm not sure what's going on. But Marcus Jordan, he is the son of Michael Jordan. He was last seen with Larsa Pippen. You know, they had a whole thing where they had a podcast. They were getting married. They made all these announcements, and now they're just done. And Larsa's like, she's moved on. There's no reason for her to look back there. She said that people should be more appreciative of the single phase that they're in their life. I actually do have some sympathy or empathy, I guess I should say, for Larsa, because you think about it, she was extremely young when she got with Scotty. He was older than her. They were together. It's what we talk about, why sometimes people are saying young girls should not date older men, because they are in a different phase of life where they are more settled. They want to do different things, and you're missing out on that. And then you might have a delayed adolescence, kind of like what it seemed like Larsa was going through when she was hopping around with Future and all the ball players and Marcus. Well, anyway, Marcus has a new boo. This weekend in Miami was Art Basel, and it was popping, parties, all of these things. And some paparazzi photos came out, and it was Marcus Jordan and Nicole Murphy. Now, Nicole Murphy is what's known as a cold piece, if you listen to some. Lisa Ray and Layla Rashawn would be too, as she allegedly, well, not allegedly, with Layla, we kind of saw the photos. Lisa Ray stands by the fact that she and Nicole were friends. She just talked about it recently on Carlos King's podcast. And that Nicole went behind her back and was accepting trips from her husband. And, it went down. So now we have Marcus, who is seen bunned up with Nicole. Marcus, what's going on, babe? Now, I have no problem with a little vintage in the relationships, but you seem to be targeting women that have connections to other famous men that are kind of known for a certain type of behavior. And I'm not mad at, get your coins. You should only date men that are established if you are established yourself. However, what's going on, Marcus? I don't know. That's just a little side. We'll have to see what develops, if there's a podcast and more canoodling come from them, or if it was just like, hey, we're out here, really out here, having a good time over the weekend. So lastly, this is just a side note. Since we're talking about sports, Lonzo Ball has recently come out and admitted that his Big Baller brand shoes probably did contribute to his knee issues. Look, I worked at Nike for a very long time, for about 4 years. That's not a long time, but it's a time period. Worked in brand marketing. And I said this initially when Big Baller Brand was all the rage and everyone was like, get money, go on, LeVar Ball. You're just hating on a black man standing up for his family. It's not that. What I know is I know the amount of time that is put into sneakers that are made for on the court wear. It's something called wear testing. They do it for months and years. They do not only do they do it with, the player whose shoe it could be, but they also do it with guys that are just playing on different levels. It's very important for your career. It's why people have lost at times, not specifically one particular type of shoe, but just bad footwear in general. And so my problem with Big Baller Brand was you're pushing these sneakers with no tech, and you have your son switching out and his career is hanging in the mix. Anyway, that's just a side, something random I wanted to throw in. Leave me comments, leave me feedback. I'd love to know your thoughts about Jay-Z and his suit, his countering back. What do you think is going to be the outcome of that? Do you think that if he is successful in shutting down Tony Buzbee, it will have a ripple effect on the other cases, some that involve Diddy as well? Do we think that any of this is realistic? Not realistic as in there's no victims or if it could have happened, but realistic in legitimately being able to show a chain of events that will get Jay-Z, Diddy, and whomever else is involved acquitted. I mean, not acquitted, convicted on a civil level, except for, Diddy's thing. And lastly, who do you think Celeb C is? Who do you think the female celeb was that was in a room allegedly just watching these two men go back and forth between a chick and just hanging out? I don't know. It's a lot with this. The details are sensational. So I want to see what type of proof they have and they plan to bring forth. But in the meantime, thank you guys for locking in. If there's a particular time you'd like me to screen, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you all.